Welcome back, everybody, to The Deep Dive. Ready for another incredible story.
Always.
Today, we're diving into a truly remarkable story of survival from 9/11.
Oh, wow.
The story of Genelle Guzman-McMillan, the last person pulled alive from the wreckage of the World Trade Center.
Incredible.
Yeah. And before we go any further, if you're new to The Deep Dive and watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button.
Yeah.
Click the notification bell so you don't miss out on future episodes. Now let's rewind back to September 11th, 2001.
Okay.
Genelle is at work on the 64th floor of the North Tower, starting her day like any other.
Just another day at the office.
And it's just impossible to grasp that sudden shift, from normalcy to absolute terror that people experienced that morning. Yeah. And in Genelle's case, she initially thought the impact of the plane was an earthquake.
Really?
Something she was familiar with from her childhood in Trinidad and Tobago.
Wow. I mean, it makes sense. You think about it.
Yeah.
The World Trade Center towers were designed to withstand significant forces, including those from smaller aircraft.
It makes you wonder if that initial confusion and lack of immediate alarms played a role in the delayed reaction of those inside the towers.
Yeah, it's possible. Reports indicate that the alarms and emergency lights didn't activate right away.
Wow.
Which would have added to the disorientation and the uncertainty.
You can imagine being in that situation.
Yeah.
Not knowing the true extent of the danger.
Right.
Because the systems that are designed to warn you are failing.
Absolutely unprecedented nature of the attack. The challenges of preparing for the truly unimaginable.
It wasn't until Genelle and her colleagues turned on a TV in a conference room that the horrifying reality sunk in.
Imagine seeing those images broadcast live, knowing that you're trapped inside one of the buildings under attack.
Absolutely.
Moment of pure terror.
And then Genelle made a call to her family. Can you imagine trying to explain to your loved ones?
Oh my goodness.
That you're in one of the towers that just got hit by a plane?
Yeah, that must have been just a heart-wrenching phone call.
So what happened next? Did they try to evacuate immediately?
Not at first. Emergency services initially advised them to stay put, assuring them that rescuers would be on their way.
Okay.
So they began looking for ways to make their workspace safer, checking stairwells for obstructions, using wet jackets and sweaters to try to filter out the smoke.
It's just fascinating to think about the range of decisions people were facing.
Absolutely.
In those moments.
Yeah.
Fear, confusion, the instinct to survive.
Yeah.
All while trying to make sense of a situation that defied comprehension.
Absolutely. And then as they were waiting, the South Tower collapsed.
I can only imagine the sheer terror that must have gripped everyone in the North Tower as they witnessed the other tower crumble before their eyes.
Genelle described it as a moment where everything came crashing down, darkness and the sheer force of the collapse.
Wow.
It was then that they realized they couldn't wait for help any longer.
So they decided to evacuate.
Yes. A group of about 15 of them started making their way down the stairwells. And this is where we encounter one of those small details that reveals the immense pressure.
Okay.
And split-second decisions people were forced to make.
What do you mean?
Genelle was wearing high-heeled boots that day.
Oh, wow.
And her friend, Rosa Gonzalez, kept urging her to take them off so they could move faster.
High heels in that situation, that must have been incredibly difficult.
Yeah, it highlights the unpredictable nature of disaster.
Right.
How even the most mundane choices can take on enormous significance.
Did she end up taking them off?
She resisted at first, thinking she needed something to protect her feet when they got outside.
Oh, I see.
But around the 15th floor, the pain became too much and she had to remove them.
And that's when the North Tower began to collapse.
Yes. It was a terrifying moment. A whirlwind of dust and darkness, everything happening so quickly.
Wow.
During the collapse, she lost hold of Rose's hand, the hand she had been clinging to for most of their descent.
Heartbreaking to think they were together for so long, facing that ordeal together.
Yeah.
And then separated in that chaotic moment.
Speaks to the randomness of fate and the sheer terror that everyone must have felt.
So what happened to Genelle?
She instinctively covered her head and later said she tried to pretend it was all a nightmare.
Wow.
But when she regained consciousness, she realized she was trapped.
Trapped under the rubble. Do we know how much rubble she was buried under?
There aren't specific details about the amount, but we know her legs felt crushed. Her body was twisted, her head was caught between pillars, and she could feel steel pressing into her back. It's a level of pain and fear that's hard to even fathom.
And this is where her story takes an even more remarkable turn, right?
Yeah.
She was trapped down there for 27 hours before rescuers found her.
Exactly, 27 hours in darkness amidst the wreckage with injuries that most of us can't even imagine enduring. But Genelle didn't give up. She fought to stay conscious, clinging to the faint hope that someone would hear her. And this is where we start to see the incredible strength of her spirit. It's incredible to think about that sheer will to survive.
Yeah.
That kicks in during these moments of extreme crisis. Genelle was not only dealing with physical pain and the fear of being trapped, but also the psychological weight of knowing that so many others around her were also in danger.
And you mentioned this earlier, but the fact that this happened before smartphones were commonplace makes her story even more powerful.
Yeah.
We don't have that constant stream of images and videos that we've become accustomed to with more recent events.
Right.
Her account provides a really raw and unfiltered glimpse into the human experience of 9/11.
Absolutely. And it's through these personal narratives that we can truly grasp the emotional and psychological impact of that day.
Right.
For Genelle, one of the things that helped her cope was her newfound faith.
Oh, wow.
She later said that she hadn't been particularly religious before.
Okay.
But in the darkness and isolation of the rubble, she began to pray.
It's amazing how often we hear about people finding solace and faith during times of extreme hardship.
It's a testament to the human need for hope, for something to believe in, something to hold on to when everything else feels like it's falling apart. And for Genelle, that faith provided a sense of comfort and purpose amidst the chaos.
But it wasn't just her faith that sustained her, right?
Right.
There's also the story of Paul, the mysterious voice that she heard while she was trapped.
That's right. She described feeling a hand reach through the rubble and grasp hers. A hand that belonged to someone who called himself Paul.
Okay.
He urged her to keep fighting, assuring her that she would be okay.
Wow.
And as rescuers got closer, he even encouraged her to call out so they could pinpoint her location.
This detail always sends chills down my spine.
Yeah.
It's a story that touches on the very essence of human connection.
Right.
Of hope emerging from the most unexpected places.
It's fascinating, isn't it? The mystery of Paul's identity has never been definitively solved.
Right.
Was he a fellow survivor, a rescue worker who reached her early on?
Yeah.
Or, as Genelle believes, a guardian angel sent to give her hope?
It's a question that might never have a clear answer.
Yeah.
But it speaks to the enduring power of the human spirit.
Right.
And the possibility of finding connection and support, even in the darkest of times.
And then just before rescuers arrived, the hand disappeared.
Wow.
Genelle never saw or heard from Paul again.
Wow. It adds another layer of complexity to an already incredible story.
Right.
After 27 hours, she was finally pulled from the rubble.
Yeah.
What happened next?
She was immediately taken to the hospital and spent months recovering. Her injuries were severe, and there were moments when doctors thought they might have to amputate her leg.
Oh, wow.
But she persevered,
Wow.
demonstrating incredible strength and determination throughout her recovery process.
And what about Rosa, her friend who was with her in the stairwell?
Sadly, none of Genelle's co-workers who evacuated with her survived the collapse.
Wow.
It's a tragic reminder of the immense loss of life that day.
Right.
And the profound impact it had on so many families and communities.
I can't even imagine the weight of that realization, surviving while so many others didn't.
It's a burden that Genelle has carried with her, but she's also used it to fuel her advocacy.
Okay.
And her commitment to sharing her story.
Right.
She didn't learn that she was the last person pulled alive until much later.
Wow.
But that knowledge has further solidified her belief that her survival was a miracle.
Her story is a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit.
Yeah.
It reminds us of the fragility of life, the randomness of fate,
right?
But also the strength that we can find within ourselves to overcome adversity.
Exactly. And it's not just about surviving the physical ordeal.
Right.
It's about finding a way to live with the emotional and psychological scars.
Yeah.
To rebuild a life after such profound loss.
So where's Genelle now?
Yeah.
What has her life been like since 9/11?
She's dedicated her life to sharing her story, working with the American Red Cross and the 9/11 Tribute Center.
Wow.
She's also found solace in her faith, becoming an active member of the Brooklyn Tabernacle Church.